My younger brother insisted he was pregnant because after he and my sister-in-law, Emma, had relations, his belly grew larger day by day. The whole family was ecstatic. I, Sophia, who had watched him grow up since childhood, couldn't hold back and told him that men couldn't get pregnant, advising him to go to the hospital for a checkup. He then had the benign tumor removed in time but lost the ability to walk. He resented me, claiming I had made him lose his child, drugged me, and threw me onto the bed with a group of AIDS patients. I was tortured to death. When I opened my eyes, I had returned to the day my younger brother insisted he was pregnant. I let out a cold laugh. If you're pregnant, then take good care of it. The moment I opened my eyes, I saw Daniel caressing his slightly protruding belly, guided by Emma to sit on the sofa, proudly announcing, "I'm pregnant." The words had barely left his lips when everyone's eyes fixed on Daniel. No one felt there was anything wrong with his words. My mother, Lillian, even looked ecstatic, clapping continuously. "Oh my son is truly amazing to have conceived so quickly. Is it a boy or a girl?" Daniel lifted his head and puffed out his belly. "I'm a man, of course, I'm carrying a boy." Hearing this, my father, Robert, also lit up. "Good, excellent, our Fuong family has an heir." Seeing me stunned, Lillian yelled, "You damn, Sophia, didn't you hear what your brother said? Hurry and transfer 50,000 yuan to him for nourishment." My forehead immediately flushed crimson, stinging. I snapped back to reality, realizing I had been reborn. Daniel and Emma were not like normal couples. They indulged in various sexual games, so after his belly grew larger day by day, he insisted he was pregnant. The whole family was overjoyed. I found it utterly preposterous. I doused them with a bucket of cold water, telling them that men couldn't get pregnant and educating them that men lacked ovaries and a uterus, making childbirth impossible. Even with artificial wombs now, the technology wasn't mature and hadn't been applied. Under my persuasion, Daniel went to the hospital for a checkup, and the results revealed a tumor in his abdomen. Fortunately, it was discovered in time, and the tumor in his abdomen was still benign. After surgery, Daniel quickly recovered, but he also lost his mobility because of it. He began to resent me. "It's all your fault. You couldn't get married, so you were jealous that I could get pregnant and killed my son." My parents, their great expectations shattered, continuously pressured Emma, urging her to have a child. Emma also began to resent me. "If it weren't for you, that old hag wouldn't be forcing me to drink those awful concoctions every day, pressuring me to have a child. If you're so jealous of others being able to have children, then go have children with a few men yourself." The two of them conspired to drug me, then threw me onto the bed with a group of AIDS patients. I was tortured to death. After I died, my parents not only helped them cover up the truth but even spread rumors that I was promiscuous, had affairs with many men, contracted a dirty disease, and died in bed. My thoughts snapped back. I suppressed the burning hatred, the urge to tear them apart, and subtly moved away from Lillian. "Mom, all my salary is with you. How could I have any money?" Lillian cursed, "You useless parasite. Do you have the nerve to complain about being poor to me? I haven't even seen a trace of your salary this month." "Mom, it's not that I don't want to give it to you, but my company is losing money now. They haven't paid salaries this month, and I'm about to be unemployed." Then, as if remembering something, I quickly added, "How about this? I have a friend who works in the food business. Many pregnant women buy food from him. We have a good relationship, so I can get things much cheaper than anywhere else." "Then what are you waiting for? Your brother is waiting to eat. If you let my precious grandson go hungry, you'll pay." I nodded repeatedly and immediately stumbled out the door. I walked straight out of the hallway, only then lifting my pant leg to look. Old and new scars crisscrossed, and a large purple bruise appeared on my calf. A moment later, I let out a mocking laugh. "Don't you want to eat? Then let me give you some good stuff to eat." Daniel loved seafood the most. I rushed all over the city, contacted friends, and gathered a pile of super spicy pickled seafood that had been left out for who knows how long. I dragged the hall back and knocked on the door. The moment it opened, Lillian rushed out, yelling at me, "I told you to get some food and you dilly-dallied. Why didn't you just drop dead outside instead of starving my son and precious grandson? I'll skin you alive. You won't eat today." I silently pulled the cart full of food into the house. Daniel, who was lounging on Emma's lap, whining, heard the commotion, his eyes lit up, and he quickly rushed over, grabbed a bag of crabs, and began gnawing. He ate and nodded continuously, praising how delicious it was. I stepped aside and quietly observed. If I remembered correctly, those 3 bags of crabs cost a total of 1 yuan. Eat up, eat a lot. For someone with a tumor, salted and spicy foods are the most forbidden. Not to mention, these seafood items have been left out for who knows how long, some even smelled. With just some cheap seasoning, they become a delicious, pungent dish. Daniel was eating happily when suddenly his face contorted in pain and he hunched over, clutching his belly. Emma quickly ran to help him, asking worriedly, "Honey, what's wrong? Are you not feeling well?" "It hurts, my belly hurts so much." Emma's expression changed, and she helped Daniel, intending to go out. "Don't be scared, we'll go to the hospital right away." I was startled and quickly blocked their path. "You can't go to the hospital." "Get out of the way, you won't let us go to the hospital. Are you intentionally trying to harm our child?" Emma shoved me hard. Her strength was considerable, and I fell to the ground. She stepped over my hand and headed towards the door. I quickly used my other hand to grab her pant leg, then used the momentum to embrace her thigh. "You two can't go, Daniel will be taken away." They stopped, then turned back. I released Emma's pant leg and continued, "Those men outside don't have Daniel's ability, they can't get pregnant. If Daniel goes to the hospital, he'll be discovered. Then, people from research institutes will come and take him away for experiments." Hearing this, everyone's faces changed. Lillian led the way, blocking the front. "No, no one is allowed to take my precious son and grandson." Seeing this, I added another sentence. "Moreover, even if he's not taken away, with so many testing machines in the hospital, it will definitely affect the fetus." At this, Robert also chimed in. "Sophia is right. Hospitals are all scams, they cost money, and they'll affect my precious grandson. We can't go." "So, if we don't go to the hospital, what do you suggest we do?" This question left everyone without an idea. Seeing Daniel getting more and more uncomfortable, I stood up and said, "Actually, there's no need to be so stressed. Maybe it's just the baby kicking. This proves that the baby in Daniel's belly is very healthy." As I said this, the worried expressions on everyone's faces lessened considerably, but they still frowned, saying nothing. Just then Daniel straightened up slightly, rubbing his belly. "It seems to be better, it doesn't hurt as much as before." Hearing this, the dark cloud on the family's faces finally dissipated. Lillian immediately smiled so broadly her mouth couldn't close. "Oh my, men pregnant are truly stronger than women. Only a few months and already so active." As she spoke, she and Emma helped Daniel sit back down on the sofa, then stuffed 2 more bags of seafood into his hands. "Quickly sit down and rest. Didn't you finish eating earlier? Eat a lot, and then give us a chubby boy for our family." Daniel's expression had softened considerably by now. He took the seafood Lillian gave him and began to devour it. Just a moment later, his face contorted in pain again. My belly hurts again." I probed, "Is the baby kicking again?" "Every time Daniel eats these things, the baby kicks." Lillian seemed to understand something and shoved 2 more bags of seafood into Daniel's hands. "It seems my precious grandson loves to eat. You hurry and eat a lot." "Yes, eat a lot. These things contain many carcinogens. The more you eat, the faster the tumor will turn malignant." In the following days, Daniel's 3 meals a day were all seafood. I brought the seafood home, and the whole family ate it with him. Daniel's belly grew larger and larger, while his body became increasingly emaciated. This was accompanied by vomiting, general fatigue, aches, and swollen neck and armpits. I knew his tumor had begun to turn malignant. Daniel, feeling uncomfortable, became increasingly irritable. The slightest displeasure would lead to him hitting and scolding others. Lillian and Emma couldn't stand it and pushed me forward. "I picked you up and raised you, so it's time for you to repay us. Your brother is now the family's top priority. You must serve him and my precious grandson well. If anything happens, your worthless life won't be enough to compensate." Since childhood, I knew I had been picked up by my mother. They forced me to sleep in a pigsty and do all the housework. After middle school, they forced me to drop out and work, supporting their entire family. Every month, my salary had to be handed over. My brother's bride price, the house they live in now, and the monthly mortgage payments were all my blood, sweat, and tears. In my previous life, It wasn't until I died that I learned I wasn't an abandoned child, but a child they deliberately stole from the hospital's VIP room, precisely so I could be their lifelong workhorse. You bitch, I'm talking to you. Are you deaf? Daniel threw a cup of water at my forehead. Warm blood trickled down my cheek. I didn't have time to wipe it, quickly poured another cup of water and handed it to him. Immediately, the warm water was poured onto my wound. It's so hot. Do you want to scald me to death? I quickly poured another cup and handed it to him. This repeated until I was drenched, and only then was he satisfied. As I left Daniel's room, I accidentally glimpsed his phone screen and saw he was simultaneously chatting with several girls. Even in this state, he couldn't behave himself. Outside, I saw Lillian liking posts from a middle-aged man. A new idea suddenly struck me. I had set up all the family's phone SIM cards. While Daniel wasn't paying attention, I used his phone number to log into WeChat, found some of the AIDS patients from my previous life, and, in Daniel's name, gave them a sum of money, telling them to seek out Lillian. No more than 2 days later, Lillian was continuously thanking Daniel, ordering me to serve him well, and then started going out frequently. Each time she dressed flamboyantly, which increasingly annoyed Robert. I estimated the time was ripe. I used their phones to log into each other's WeChat accounts. Moments later, Robert's phone received a WeChat notification. "Sis, come out early today, okay? I want to give you a surprise." Below it was a very explicit picture of a man. Robert's face immediately darkened. He looked at Lillian, who was meticulously applying makeup in front of the mirror, then lunged forward, slapping her hard across the face. "You slut, how dare you cheat on me?" Lillian, completely unprepared, fell straight to the ground, blood oozing from the corner of her mouth as she clutched her swollen, red face. Her eyes flashed, her face filled with shame and anger. "What nonsense are you talking about? How many years have I borne children for you? At this age, how could I possibly?" Before Lillian could finish, another slap landed on her face. I heard a noise from Daniel's room, secretly placed a small chair in front of his door, then changed my position, continuing to observe coldly. Immediately after, the opposite room's door opened, and my emaciated brother, pushing out his enormous belly, stepped out. "What's going on? What happened?" With his belly blocking his view, Daniel didn't see the chair at his feet. He took 2 more steps, tripped over the chair, and fell forward. At this moment, Robert kicked Lillian in the stomach. Lillian flew backward, crashing into Daniel's belly. Immediately after, Daniel spewed a mouthful of blood onto Lillian, his face contorted in pain. Lillian tremblingly wiped the bloodstain from her body, then a second later shrieked, "Ah, Daniel is throwing up blood." Everyone's faces changed drastically. Emma quickly ran to help Daniel up. "Quick, call 112 to take him to the hospital." Robert also dropped his belt and rushed over. "It's all your fault for harming Daniel. If Daniel miscarries, I'll never forgive you." Lillian's face was pale, tears welling up. "My precious grandson." She struggled to get up from the ground, hesitating for a moment. But what if Daniel gets taken away at the hospital? What time is it for that? Daniel is throwing up blood. Are you still worried about him getting taken away? First, we need to save Daniel and the baby in his belly. Sophia, hurry up, use your phone to call 112. Even at this critical moment, they still didn't forget to calculate my money. With a worried expression, I took out my phone then, as if just remembering, quickly exclaimed, "Mom, all my money is with you. I don't have any money on my phone, so I can't call an ambulance." Lillian dared not delay, instead cursing as she went to get her own phone. "You damn Sophia, ruining my son's and precious grandson's affairs. I'll skin you alive." Seeing that she had successfully called an ambulance, Robert finally breathed a sigh of relief. He lowered his head to look at his phone, let out a cold huff, and then violently threw the phone at Lillian. "The messages about you cheating on me with another man were all sent to my phone. I wondered why you've been so flirtatious lately. Turns out you have a wild man on the side." Lillian trembled as she picked up the phone from the ground, her face immediately turning pale. "It wasn't him seducing me, I didn't." "You slut, do flies not flock to cracked eggs? He only seduced you and not others. Tell me, how long have you and that wild man been together?" Lillian desperately shook her head, pulling at Robert's pant leg, begging. No, I didn't, he came to me." "You won't cry until you see the coffin, will you? Today I'll make you remember." Robert unbuckled his belt, folded it, and whipped Lillian violently. This is for your stubborn mouth. This is for cheating on me. This is for finding a wild man. Will you talk? Will you talk? Robert continuously whipped her. Lillian clutched her head, rolling on the ground. Stop hitting me. Stop hitting me. I'll tell you. We met last week. Daniel introduced us. Then he seduced me and took me to a hotel. Hearing this, Robert's face became even more ferocious, his hand striking harder. You hussy. You dare to blame our son and even go to a hotel with that wild man? I'll beat you to death. You slut, Daniel really did introduce us. If you don't believe me, go ask him. I won't dare again. Please consider that I've served you my whole life and given birth to your son for this family. Please forgive me. Daniel's matter can wait. Now I have to deal with you first. Lillian, covered in blood from the beating, crawled towards me. Sophia, Sophia, my good daughter, quickly save your mother. Your father is going to beat me to death. In my previous life, I had softened at her pleas for help and intervened, only to be beaten more severely by my father, while she stood by, coldly watching. Afterward, she would blame me for being unfilial, saying they had saved my life and I should be obedient and grateful. I watched her, snot and tears streaming down her face, begging me. I took a step back, moving away from them so their blood wouldn't splatter on me. Mom, this time you really are in the wrong. Dad is just too angry. Just bear with it a bit, wait for him to calm down, and it'll be fine. What couple holds grudges overnight? Lillian, furious, tried to lunge at me but was slapped several more times by Robert. The sound of the ambulance temporarily calmed them down. Saving the pregnancy was still more important. In the ambulance, Daniel's face was pale, and he continuously vomited blood. As soon as the ambulance stopped at the hospital entrance, Daniel was rushed into the operating room. In front of the operating room, Robert again slapped Lillian across the face. If anything happens to Daniel and the baby in his belly, I won't forgive you. This time, Lillian didn't just cry and dodge. She lunged at Robert, scratching him. Didn't this happen because you kicked Daniel in the stomach? How dare you blame me? Lillian's resistance stunned Robert. Reacting, he immediately flared up and kicked Lillian away. You wretched hag, are you rebelling? You dare lay hands on me. If it weren't for your dirty deeds, would I have kicked Daniel? You slut. Seeing the two about to fight, Robert's phone rang with a WeChat notification. It was from Lillian's lover. Why haven't you arrived yet, darling? I can't wait, I want to give you a surprise. Robert's temple twitched. Get lost, you pretty boy. How dare you and that slut cheat on me? If I catch you, I'll kill you. Immediately after, the other party sent a voice message. Far from being angry, his tone carried a hint of a smile. Oh, so it's the uncle? Well, it seems I won't be able to personally deliver this surprise to Sis. I can tell you all now. Welcome to the world of AIDS. That single sentence silenced everyone on the spot. Lillian frantically rushed forward, snatching the phone and calling back. What did you say? What did you just say? Say it again. Hearing Lillian's frantic tone, the other person's voice still held a hint of a smile. Didn't you hear clearly, sis? All right then, put me on speaker. Lillian's mind had stopped working. Her fingers followed his instruction, putting it on speaker. Immediately after, the man's clear voice echoed in everyone's ears. I said, welcome to the world of AIDS. Lillian's face turned completely white. Her lips trembled as she said, how could this be? You're lying to me, right? You're playing a trick on me, right? You clearly said you loved me. How could you? Before Lillian could finish, a sneering laugh came from the phone. Old woman, still so naive at your age, I called you sis, but did you really think you were my sis? Don't even look at your face, full of wrinkles. Every time I was with you, I felt disgusted. To be honest, if Daniel Fuong hadn't given me money to be with you, I wouldn't even look at you once. Lillian couldn't believe it, taking a step back, asking blankly, why would he do this? I'm his biological mother? That, I wouldn't know, you should go ask him. With that, he hung up. No matter how many times Lillian called back or sent messages, there was no reply. Robert's face was now utterly hideous. He was the closest to Lillian, so of course he was terrified. You slut, this is all you're doing? Blows rained down on Lillian. This time, she didn't dare to resist. At this moment, a kind passerby, unable to watch any longer, advised, it's useless to say anything now. The urgent matter is to quickly take medication and get tested to see if you've been infected. That one sentence woke them from their stupor. Emma had already acted the moment she heard the word AIDS. Robert and Lillian, hearing this, no longer cared about Daniel's condition and immediately went to buy medication, take it, and get tested. After a struggle, they returned anxiously. The test results wouldn't be available until tomorrow. For now, Daniel was still the most important. Just then, the operating room door opened and a doctor stepped out. Who is Daniel Fuang's family? The whole family surrounded him. The doctor looked around, then handed them a critical condition notification. The tumor in the patient's abdomen has become malignant and ruptured, causing severe hemorrhage. Some cancer cells have metastasized. We can only do our best. Please sign. That single sentence stunned the entire family. Robert stammered, Doctor, are you mistaken? What tumor? We've never heard of it." The doctor frowned upon hearing this. "Aren't you Daniel Fuang's family?" "We are, but we've never heard of any tumor. Isn't my son pregnant?" The doctor's brows furrowed even tighter. "Pregnant? How can a man get pregnant?" But he and his wife were playing some four-way love games, and his belly grew bigger. "If that's not pregnant, what is it?" The doctor was helpless against their ignorance. "I have a responsibility to inform you. Men cannot get pregnant. His belly swelled because he had a tumor in his abdomen. Based on its size, the patient's tumor has been there for at least 4 or 5 months. It has now turned malignant and ruptured. Cancer cells have begun to metastasize. The patient is currently experiencing severe hemorrhage. We need the family to sign so we can continue emergency treatment." The whole family immediately turned pale. Robert and Lillian's legs went limp, and they knelt directly on the ground. "My precious grandson is gone." I stood nearby, kindly reminding them, "He's not gone, he never existed. Hurry and sign. Daniel is still bleeding profusely. Any more delay and it will be too late." At that critical moment, it was Emma who signed. Robert and Lillian wept bitterly, begging the doctor to save my brother. The doctor offered a few words of comfort, then took the form and rushed back in. The family sat dazed, waiting in front of the operating room. After an unknown period, the operating room light went out. The doctors and nurses wheeled out my unconscious brother. Robert, Lillian, and Emma quickly crowded around. "The hemorrhage has been stopped. The patient's condition is temporarily stable, but the prognosis is not optimistic. Based on the tumor's behavior, it was highly aggressive. If he had come to the hospital a few months ago when it was still benign, it wouldn't have been a big problem." The doctor sighed and shook his head. "But now the tumor has ruptured. We can only treat it with chemotherapy and radiation, but there's not much hope. The family should prepare yourselves." Robert and Lillian's faces turned ghastly pale. They couldn't believe it and collapsed to the ground. "How can this be? How did it come to this?" I gave them a cold glance and followed the doctor to the ward. Daniel woke up the next morning. As soon as he regained consciousness and heard the bad news, he looked at my parents in disbelief. "What are you saying? I wasn't pregnant. It wasn't a baby in my belly, but a tumor." Robert and Lillian nodded heavily. After a moment of hesitation, Robert spoke up. "The doctor said this disease can't be cured even with treatment, and besides, our family doesn't have money. How about we?" Daniel immediately became furious, grabbing Robert and Lillian and pleading. "No, Mom, Dad, please save me. I'm so young, I don't want to die. I'm the only heir of the Fuang family. I can't die, no money. If we don't have money, don't we still have Sophia? You deliberately took her from the hospital, wasn't it to help me? If there's no money, find a rich man and marry her off. Or don't her real parents have money? Go find her parents. We raised her for so many years. What's wrong with asking her parents to pay a little? If that doesn't work, tell her to sell herself. I'm the only heir of our family. I can't die." I had just entered the ward when I heard this, letting out a sneer, and threw the report in my hand over. "You should worry about yourselves. You don't have long to live, so why bother with others' affairs?" Daniel glared at me furiously. "Sophia, is that how you talk to us? You're about to die. Why do you care about this? You should think about how you'll explain yourself." "What do you mean?" "The literal meaning, you know what you did." Robert and Lillian ignored the argument, trembling as they picked up the reports on the hospital bed. Both reports showed positive results. This meant they had both contracted the HIV virus. Daniel still wanted to argue with me, but Lillian slapped him across the face. Daniel, in the hospital bed, was stunned by the blow, looking back in disbelief. "Mom, why are you hitting me? That slut is talking to me, you should go hit her." "I'm hitting *you, we're your biological parents. What did we ever do wrong to you for you to treat us like this?" Daniel was even more bewildered. "What are you two talking about? I just told you two to save me. What did I do to you?" Still pretending to be innocent, "That man already told us. You gave him money and told him to seduce your mother and spread the virus. You're really something. You found someone with a disease to cheat on your father with, hoping we'd die soon, didn't you?" "What virus? I don't know anything about a virus." Seeing Daniel still stubborn, Lillian took his phone and looked for the man. He's still in your phone right here. The chat history is still here. How dare you deny it? Daniel looked at the chat history on the phone, his pupils constricting. This wasn't sent by me. I didn't tell him to do this. If you don't believe me, I'll call him now. He then called, but several consecutive calls couldn't connect. Seeing Robert and Lillian's faces growing increasingly impatient, Daniel could only continue to explain. Of course, he couldn't be reached because I had already reported him and his accomplices to the police, putting them behind bars. Along with Robert and Lillian's baby kidnapping and child abuse from that year, I also reported them to the police. Seeing the atmosphere in the ward grow increasingly tense, 2 police officers walked in. Are you Robert Fuang and Lillian Fuang? My parents unconsciously nodded. Immediately after, the 2 were handcuffed by the police. Someone reported you for stealing an infant and child abuse. Please come with us. Officer, is there some misunderstanding? We didn't do anything. At this point, I stepped forward. Officers, I am the one who filed the report. These are all the proofs that they stole me from the hospital that year and abused me since childhood. Ever since I returned from rebirth, I started searching for evidence. Now I have finally gathered enough. The 2 of them, hearing this, looked at me in disbelief, glaring. You slut! We raised you, and this is how you repay us, you ungrateful wretch. The 2 were unwillingly led away by the police. I turned to face Daniel's eyes. Daniel unconsciously recoiled. What do you want to do? I let out a cold laugh and quickly left the ward. Anyway, you're already dying. Perish on your own. After investigation, combined with my evidence, Robert and Lillian's crimes were proven true, and they were sentenced to 10 years. However, the virus in their bodies would likely not allow them to live through those 10 years. Like Robert and Lillian, Emma also contracted the virus. At the same time, she discovered Daniel's emotional infidelity. Overwhelmed by emotion, she pulled Daniel's oxygen tube but was caught red-handed by the doctors and nurses. Emma went to jail. Although discovered in time, Daniel was already in critical condition, and ultimately, emergency efforts were unsuccessful, leading to his death. With the help of the police, I found my biological parents. They had never given up searching for me. To compensate for those years of deprivation, my parents directly gave me an unlimited black card, telling me to spend freely. I finally got to live the life of a young miss. After Robert and Lillian went to prison, I visited them once. I told them that I had known all along that the lump in Daniel's belly was a tumor and deliberately hadn't told them. I even accelerated the malignancy of the tumor. Now Daniel was dead and their family line was cut off. I also told them that I had used Daniel's WeChat to instruct that man to seduce their mother. Their eyes bulged, wanting to strangle me, but they could only rage in helplessness, awaiting death in their cell. Returning home, my parents were waiting for me to eat dinner. I quickly stepped inside. From now on, I finally had a home. The end.